Naperville native Dan Shanower was a Navy intelligence officer who was working at the Pentagon on September 11, 2001.
That day, he was at work in his office with the 7 who worked for him seated around a table. They had just had the word from about the Twin Towers in New York, which he had taken to the admirals, and then came back to his office to begin working the intelligence about that when the plane struck the command center.
The family anxiously waited for word on Dan's fate.
Our oldest grandson in that family was 10 years old, and I vividly remember as we're all around the TV, he said, "Keep fighting, Uncle Dan, you can get out of the fire."
But they knew in their hearts the news wasn't good.
Our son John, who was an attorney, was home in Naperville, and he was the one that got all the calls. And finally had to tell me not to be so optimistic about Dan's survival because the Navy had called, and he said, "You know, Dan would have reported to the Navy if he were able to do so."
When the final word did come, it was followed by a Naperville connection.
When the Virginia fire and rescue man found our son's body, he looked through his wallet and saw that he was from Naperville, so he called Chuck WEHRLI, whom he knew. This man's name was Mike Regan, and he said, "Tell the family that if they'd like to talk to me, I'd be willing to speak with them," which I thought was a very magnanimous gesture. It took me a year before I was able to make that call to him.
Dan Shanower, basically his family grew up about 2 blocks away from me.
On September 11, 2001, Chuck WEHRLI was a FEMA Urban Search and Rescue Safety Officer with Missouri Task Force 1. The retired Naperville Fire Department captain was called in to go to Ground Zero to help. As the safety officer, he was responsible for watching over his crew for 10 days.
It was kind of weird because it looked like a movie set, because you never thought you would see something like that in 16 acres of debris like that. And being a safety officer, what do? We had to look for everything. We had respirators on. We had to watch out for guys getting hurt from tripping and falling into voids. Our structural engineers were watching the other buildings. So yeah, it was like overwhelmed.
It was a rough experience.
On that day 20 years ago, Dr. Anthony LAVACCA from Naperville Dental Specialists was living and practicing in New York. After the attacks, he spent 3 months on the dental forensic team.
It's never an easy thing to go back and, remember. It's not a glamorous thing, it's not, you just do it because you want to do it. You do it because you're helping somebody who you don't even know.
Though it took an emotional toll, helping the loved ones of those lost.
It did give closure to the parents or whoever loved ones that were missing that person, and it was really, really rewarding.
Naperville remembers that day every year. The city holds a 9/11 remembrance ceremony honoring one of their own. The Dan Shanower Memorial was one of the first 9/11 memorials to be built in the U.S. It was thanks to private donations from the community that it came together.
I remember some of the initial meetings that we did talk with the entire community as to what their ideas and their input, and it was filled to the brim, just like, at City Hall, the council chambers, and it was full, and everybody wanted to do something. Everybody wanted to in some way give back and give support.
The memorial represents that unity, as the sculpture combines a steel beam from the World Trade Center, granite from Pennsylvania where Flight 93 crashed, and rubble from the damaged part of the Pentagon, to be forever remembered. 20 years later, it's the same theme that endures.
I want to go back to September 12, 2001. Because that's the day when everybody had American flags out. Everybody had American flag stickers all over their vehicles. New York, they were handing out flags to us. That was when we saw this country unite.
It brought New York together as a community. You had people from all around the United States coming in, firemen, policemen, civil service people. Everybody came together as a whole, as a nation.
That if we knew each other better, understood each other better, that we could avoid another day like this happening.
Reporting for Naperville News 17, I'm Ashley Hausa.